Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining the Avnet Academy webinar today, going over Author for Complex Requirements. I have Vinay Gupta on the line here, and he will be presenting to you today. Vinay is a brand advocate and trainer here at Avnet Academy, and he's very well versed in Cognos specifically. Vinay, would you want to go ahead and get started?
Yeah, hello everybody. I welcome you all to this webinar. Of course, we will be seeing how a requirement which is seemingly simple can become a little difficult to code. First and foremost, are you all able to see the slideshow on the screen?
Yeah, everybody's muted.
Oh, okay. So you would be able to control that. And now if I go to the next, do you see the next screen now?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So and in the end of this, once I present the methodology of doing this, I would go to a live demo where I would share my screen, where I would be working on an actual environment where I'll show you how the requirement coding can be done. So when we talk about complex requirements, as I already said, that some of the requirements can be seemingly simple, but they can become complex to code. So we need to design for that. We need to have a solution in our mind. How would we make that? And that would help us a lot in making sure all the pieces of the solution which we put together work in a proper way. So why are the requirements complex? I've been consulting for quite a long time with Cognos, and when user wants flexibility and they want easy to work with reports, so they would come back with requirements which makes their work simpler, like reducing some clicks or making sure that when a user makes some selection on the report, then they are not able to make wrong selections. So they want to control that what the user selects is able to give us proper data. So when I said can be seemingly simple, for example, let's say our data has got flags on the rows which says excluded. So, or it could be a flag like excluded. So if we say that by default all will be shown, but if you want to exclude it, you can exclude it. So it's a matter of putting a filter on excluded equal to yes, which will be a simple requirement. So the default would be that I should be showing all transactions, but when I want to say exclude the excluded one, I can put the filter on. Now the same requirement can come from the user in a little roundabout way, where they say that if I select to include the excluded environment, excluded transactions, only then show them. So default should be don't show the excluded ones. But if I select saying I want to show the excluded ones also, then show me everything. This requirement can, it looks very similar to the requirement which earlier was, but just changing it other way around can become a little complex. So when the user chooses I want to show the excluded requirements, which means he doesn't want to filter. So coding that filter can become a little complex. So it's something similar. Another example I can give is, let us say the user wants to come back with you and say, I want my people to be able to select the customer number or the customer name, but never both. So, and they have got a choice of selecting whatever they want to select, either the customer number or the customer name, but never both. So that also can become a little complex. Of course, it would be made out of simple components, but to make them work together can lead to a report which would otherwise be simpler, a little more complex. So that's what we are talking about here. And we will say that let's have the problem definition here. Now it's again a simpler definition. A user wants to select product lines or product numbers or product types, whatever it could be. And there could be multiple or thousands of rows in my data. And what the user wants to say is I want to select minimum values. For example, product numbers are there. If I want to see only 10 product numbers, I should be selecting those 10 product numbers, and I should see only those. But let us say I want to see all product numbers, but not only 3, 4 of them. So then if I just code for you select what you want to see, then in case he wants to see all others but the 10, the user will be required to select all other 900 of them and then not see those 10 which he doesn't want to see. So he wants to select whatever is the minimum. So if he wants to have include only these values or exclude these values, he wants to have that requirement coded. And he wants to decide when the report is being run whether he wants to exclude or include the values. This requirement, once it is made, we will see becomes a little complex to code. And I'm using the word complex, but I would rather like to stick to not so simple. So, and we will go ahead and see how the solution would be designed and what we'll need for doing that, and then we'll go ahead and code. So the solution design, I would say, we would need two parameters. One for including the values and one for excluding the values. We need to have two different parameters which can be used in our filters to say, one filter would say I want to have my product values which are chosen in this parameter, or another filter would be that the values which are selected should not be in the parameter, in the product values which are to be shown on the report. So I would use exclude and include two parameters, but I would also need another parameter which will be taken from the user saying, what do you want to do? Do you want whatever values you have selected, are they to be excluded or included? So based on that, the values which the user selects, we will put them in proper filter. So the prompt page, the relevant prompt, the exclude prompt or the include prompt, we will take two of them and then show them according to whether the user wants to exclude or include the values in my report. I would show only that prompt to them. So that is what my solution design would be. So the steps would be, I'll create a simple report, and then I will create a prompt for exclude include. Now this exclude include is not in my data. So there is no, you can say, tagging or flags in my data which can say I want to exclude or include. So this would be a prompt which will be created, which will have no filter, because I don't want to filter my data based on this prompt. This prompt is exclusively for letting the user select whether he wants to include the values which he selects or exclude the values which he selects. So we'll not put any filter on that, and we will also not create any query for that, because the items which are there in this prompt are not existing in my data. So when they are not existing, I still want to show the user exclude or include. I want to give him a choice which he can select. So I would create static choices in my prompt to show the users the verbiage which I want to show. But this prompt would also be auto-submit, because based on the value of this prompt, I want to show the second prompt where he will be able to see the product codes or product lines or product type, whatever we are working with this in the report. So this is how we will create the first prompt. Then we will make another prompt which will be for the product choices. So in this case, in this example, I will be using product lines. So this also, I would say no filter. The reason for doing this no filter is that I can create the filter while I'm creating the prompt, but I don't want to do that because I would be duplicating this prompt, one for exclude, one for include. The reason for duplication will be coming on the next slide. So we will create a query because we do want to get the values from our database to show to the users all values which are available to us. Whether we include or exclude will come later. And this would be cascade source from the include exclude prompt. The reason for doing the cascade source would be that we only want to show the prompt from products to the user once he has made the selection he wants to include or exclude, because we want to show the proper prompt control to the user. So next is we duplicate the product choices prompt which we just created. Why do we duplicate? Two reasons. One is we want to use for each of the prompts a different parameter, but we also want to use the same query. So it will be one query which will be sent to the database to get the value, because the values are the same. Whether we exclude or include, the values would be same. Next, because we did say on the previous slide that we would be conditionally formatting this product choices prompt to show only either exclude or include, we would also need a Boolean variable which will control which one of the two product prompts are shown to the user. So we will use for this Boolean variable the selection from the user for the first exclude include prompt. So if he says I want to include it, the value which I am selecting, then my Boolean variable will have the value which will be showing proper prompt for include. And if he selects exclude, I would be using the prompt for exclude from the user. So, and now, because we did not create a filter while creating the prompt, but we do need two filters, which one is for exclude, one is for include. But we want to make both those filters optional because we don't know what the user is going to select. If he selects include, I want to use the include filter. If he says exclude, I want to use the exclude filter. So both the filters will be optional, but based on the selection, we'll be using one or the other. So, and then because we duplicated the prompt, the product prompt, and while creating the product prompt, it would ask us to create a parameter. So we would create that parameter, but when we duplicate the product prompt, that parameter will be used for both the prompts. And we don't want to have the same parameter for both the prompts. So we would modify the product prompts, both of them, to properly attach the variable, the parameter which we created in our filters, to attach it to each one of the prompts. So once we do that, then the original parameter which was created while creating the prompt will automatically be taken away, because Report Studio is set to delete any, you can say, any objects which are not being used anywhere in the report. So that parameter will go. So after doing this, once we have made sure that the prompts are having proper parameters attached to it, then we'll conditionally format both the prompts using the Boolean variable which we did before, and we'll format the box type of the proper prompt to say, if the user says exclude, I want to show the exclude parameter, and the user says include, then I want to use the include parameter. So once that is done, we'll go ahead and test the report and see how it works. So these are the steps and the solution design which we have done, and we'll go ahead and create that solution and see how the report works. So I would go ahead and I would share my desktop so that we can work with the virtual machine. Okay, Jen, I'll ask you, are you able to see my desktop with the virtual machine over there?
Yes.
Okay. So I have already created a simple report which has got my product line, product type, quantity, and revenue. So if I run this report right now, I would see all the values. So there is no filter, no prompt, nothing in this report. I just pre-created this report so that would be my starting report. And I'll follow the steps which we have detailed already to have this report work so that the user is able to do the exclude and include prompt. My virtual machine has been sitting idle. Maybe it is timed out, so it might ask us to log in. So that's the reason why I ran the report. Okay, so the report runs. I've got all the values in the report. So now the first step we said we'll create a prompt for exclude include. So we will go ahead and create a prompt page here. And on the prompt page, I'm going to add a value prompt here. And now the parameter, we are going to create a new parameter which we'll call as exclude include. So I would say, I can just call it a name, and then I said create a parameters filter. We don't want to create a filter here because we do not want to filter our query based on this. So we'll uncheck this. And next it says create a new query. We don't also want to create a query because we don't have any values in our database which can be brought back for showing to the user. So we'll take this out also. And then we have got a prompt available. And this prompt we are going to add 2 static choices. So use, I can use, and here in the display I can give a descriptive text. And I can give another value for exclude, where I can say exclude selected values. So I've got 2 values available in there, and for the user interface I'm going to change it instead of drop-down list. I can make it a radio button group because I would be selecting only one of the 2. So that is my prompt. And the second thing I said was we will make this prompt as auto submit, because if I select a value, I want to right away show the other prompts which are there. So that was my very first prompt which I wanted to create. And now I'm going to create another prompt for the product choices, or product lines for that matter. So I'm going to add another value prompt. It would create a new parameter here. I can just create any parameter, it doesn't matter. So because as I said, we will get rid of this later on. So here we are going to create no filter because we don't want to use this particular parameter which we are getting in our prompt right now. So because it chooses P line as the parameter which I just created, I do not want to use that. So I would not create a filter, but I would create a query because I do want to get the values from our data. So here in values to use, I'm going to select product line. So for my sales query, products, I'm using product line, and I keep the, and here I would use the cascade source for this as exclude include parameter. So here I got my prompts available. I can change the UI for this also to checkbox group. I have to make it multi-select as yes also if I want to select more than one values. And then I can change the user interface to checkbox group. So I have got my one prompt available. And I will go ahead and now I'll duplicate this prompt. So I can just simply copy and paste this prompt. So I get another prompt. Now these 2 prompts are exactly same, and they have got the cascade source from exclude include. They are multi-select. Right now they are required. So I have to make them also optional because I want the filters to be optional. So I got these 2 prompts available. And now you will see both the prompts are using query 2. So here also is query 2, and this one is also using query 2. So both the prompts are using one query. So we have got, as a result, only 2 queries in there. So, and next what we are going to do is we are going to create a Boolean variable. And this Boolean variable, I am going to use the exclude include parameter. So I say parameter display value of exclude include, not display value. Here I would change the function to parameter value. Reason for that is because I have decided to use a different value in the prompt and select these values to the user. So I don't want to use that longer version of the prompt. So I would use parameter value equal to include. So if I say include, my Boolean variable value would be yes. I go ahead and check that, so if there is any errors in this. So I created the Boolean variable, so I can give it a name of so that's my variable which I will use for displaying my prompts. So I go back to my prompt page and sorry, not the prompt page, the query, and now we want to add our two filters to this query because we do want to use proper parameters for doing that. So here, if I go to and add a detailed filter, and I can say from my query itself, product line in, and I want to create a new parameter here, which will be my include. So I can call it product include. So it will product line in, product include. So and the filter right now by default is required, so I want to make it optional. And I want to add another filter here, which will be again using product line. And I want to say not in, exclude product line. So I mean, these names of the parameters are irrelevant. They are used as placeholders for the values which we enter in there. So it's now getting the values from this for just displaying that. I'm going to cancel it out here, but there is no error in this, otherwise the values won't come up. So this prompt also I'm going to make it as optional. So once I've got my two parameters, p include and ep line. So there are two, exclude and include. Of course, I should have set it as p exel, but ep line is also fine. So I have got two filters in there. So now once I have my parameters available, now I can go back and attach proper parameter to each one of the prompts. So here, if I go, I see right now my parameter which is attached to this is p line. So I want to change that to include parameter. So that becomes my include prompt. And this one I want to attach to exclude parameter. So EP line was my exclude parameter. So once I do that, now you see here, if I come back here, the parameter, the P line parameter is gone because it's not being used by any of the prompts. Now I got EP line is for my exclude, and P include is for my include, and exclude include is a parameter which accepts the value from the user. So now we have got all our parameters properly shown. Now the only thing what is left is we want to show only the right parameter box based on whether the user selects include here or exclude here. So the include prompt, I'm going to change that and attach it to the style variable, which will be include exclude. And this one also, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to attach the same variable here. Now, I'm going to do conditional formatting for these. So I want to say when my include exclude value is yes, which means I want to show the include parameter. So the exclude one, I will go and make box type for exclude one as no, none. So when the value is included, only include prompts show up. Next, if the value is excluded, then I want the include parameter to go away. So I can make that as none. So now my report should be ready for testing. So if I run that report, so here include selected values. Once I say include selected values, it's an auto submit prompt. So it shows me the values which I want to include. So I say include selected values. I say golf equipment and outdoor equipment. I say finish. It should show me only golf equipment and outdoor protection equipment. So that is my include prompt. But if I was to go back and run again, and this time say exclude selected values, and now I say I do not want to see golf equipment and outdoor protection, and finish this, I should see everything else except the two values which I selected. So that way I have combined my user requirements. So he sees only one prompt which is showing me all the product lines, but based on include selected values or exclude selected values, I would see the values. So this example shows only 5 values. It's easier to select, but imagine if this prompt itself was having 2,000 values in there, then this exclude and include would help a lot. So that is what the example I was talking about, how we code, and there could be, and I always say that in this modern world, modern mathematics, there is always a solution. So whatever I have shown you is essentially a solution. There could have been, the same thing could have been done in multiple other ways also, but each way would have its own advantages or disadvantages, so, and also personal preference. How do you want to code that? So that is what my example was. So I would open the forum for questions if anybody has any questions.
So if you have questions, please either type it into the chat window, or I'll go ahead and unmute the lines right now.
The conference has been unmuted.
And Jen, I would keep my sharing on the virtual machine itself. So if there are any questions, if you can speak them out, because I am not able to see the conference controls right now.
Yeah, I can switch over to the presentation in a second. So I did get a couple of questions, Vinay, that I have that were chatted to me. So I'll just go ahead and ask those. And if anyone else has any, please feel free to pop them in the chat window, and I'll call them out. So Vinay, one question is, what are cascading prompts and why are they used?
Okay. The cascading prompts basically when you want to have a situation where you want to show the selection in one of the prompts based on a selection done in an earlier prompt. That is when we set up cascading prompts. A classic example of that would be if we have got states, cities, and branches, for example. So a company could have 10,000 branches, and you want to select a particular branch. So you could show them only one prompt showing all 10,000 branches. Of course, you will be limited at 5,000. It becomes very difficult for the user to select out of those 5,000 values. So if you show them first the states and then let them select the state, and based on the state they select, my other prompt, the cities prompt, would show only the cities for the states prompt. And then once you select a city, I want to show them only the branches in that particular city, thereby limiting the number of values which are shown in my lowest branch level city. So this is called cascading prompts. The city prompt cascades from the state prompt, and the branch prompt cascades from the city prompt. So thereby reducing the selection which each user wants in each of the prompts. That helps proper selection and easy selection from the users. And once you set up a cascade prompt, as we saw in our report, the prompt which is being cascaded will not get the values till the prompt which is being cascaded from is given a value. So here, when I run the report, you see the prompt of product lines is not having any values because it is cascaded from this. The moment I select this, then only the values are populated in the prompt which is cascaded to. That is how the cascading prompts work. Any other questions, Jen?
And then I do have, how are parameters different from prompts?
Okay. The prompts basically use parameters. So like the prompt control is here, and it uses a parameter. Here is the parameter given. So I can use a prompt to work with the parameters, or what I could do is, if I go back to this query and I just include a filter here, and I'm just going to do that, create a product type, I would say. in, this is another prompt which parameter which I created, ABC. So that is a parameter value given. If I only create a parameter, it would automatically create a prompt for me, but it would not be properly formatted like the prompt control which we have made. So if I was to say OK here and run this report, because this is right now a required prompt, these two are optional prompts. So if I run this report, and go ahead and give all my values here. So if I give golf equipment, outdoor equipment, even when I say finish, despite there being no prompt for this prompt which is ABC, should bring up a parameter. Let me go back and make another new report here. So if I go back and make a new report here, and then I go back in the query and I create a filter, so I did not create any prompt here, but if I run this report, it would bring up a prompt for me and ask me to select the values. So it shows me. Now this prompt I did not create. The parameter itself has become a prompt. So if I'm just using parameters for this, I can get prompted with the parameters only. But if I create a prompt myself, then I can attach a parameter to it so that I can have more control over the prompt. I can change the user interface. I can make it auto submit. Now I won't have those options in here to make it auto submit or to have any static choices added to it. So those kind of things cannot be done.
And actually, Vinay, Tandy asked a question while you were discussing the prompts. Would you have some slides or a document on the subject to share with us? Do you have any documentation on prompts or?
Separate documentation on prompts, I mean, it would be very well explained in the Cognos manuals. But for this particular example which I've given, I definitely can share the steps or even the report specification which I have created. That definitely I can send, because the report is created on the sample database, so it should be able to be run by anybody who has stored the samples. So that I could definitely do. But my report is made in version 10.2, so if you have got an earlier version, you won't be able to use that. But for people who are using 10.2, I definitely can share the report specification.
She said that would be great. And then I do have another question. Let's see. Why can I not set my prompt that I created to auto-submit?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, sorry. Why can I not set my prompt that I created to auto-submit?
Oh, yeah. So I mean, that could happen if your prompt is a multi-select prompt. Then you cannot set it to auto-submit. The reason for that is if it is a multi-select prompt, you're supposed to select one value, and then after pressing Control, you are supposed to select, or Shift, you're supposed to press second value to select multiple values. So if you set that prompt to auto-submit, it won't work. And that is why if you have already set your prompt to multi-select, Cognos will not give you an option of making that prompt as auto-submit. So you can only make a prompt to single select value to auto-submit.
Great. Now, are there any other questions out there from the audience? Okay, and actually, Vinay, I'm going to stop sharing so that I can make sure everybody sees your contact information. Okay. So up here on this slide, everybody is Vinay's contact information, as well as, we encourage you to join our LinkedIn group. And we have, several discussions going on there. You can talk with Vinay on there. And then if you want to look at our course list, you can visit academy.avnet.com as well and see what kind of courses we're offering in the Cognos space.
Yeah, and if you've got any queries, anything which you want to discuss, don't hesitate to send me an email. So I will do the best I can.
And we will follow up with you all after this presentation with a recording of the presentation. And Pandy and Carl, we will definitely follow up with you about the documentation we discussed earlier. And if there's nothing else, we can give back you guys some time here, and have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.